What up, gamers? Today, we're going to go through the augments and look at some of the stats. We're going to go through each tier, and I'm just going to help interpret some of these stats for you guys and just talk about some augments that are INSTAPICK and some that are, kind of avoid and kind of interpret the stats. And before we get into it, I just want to say stats in this set, especially with Chosen and everything that's going crazy right now, they're kind of hard to interpret, and some things are going to stick out and look very bad, but actually is not very bad. And some things will look like, oh, I should insta-pick this every time. But really, those things are just like, if you're in the perfect spot to take it, that's why it's so OP. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, going through the augments and stuff. I don't have anything planned through this. I'm just going to go through this and look at some of the stuff. So first up, we're going to be looking at silver tier. Let's just talk about the first few that are doing really, really, really well. So stationary support has a 4.05, which is the highest of any of the silver tiers here, as we can see. And why is it strong? It's just, man, you get so much power out of a silver augment. Obviously, your stage 2 is going to be a little bit weaker, but it's just, you're just down a silver augment on stage 2. That's it. And then you're going to get this on 3-3. And so you gain a training dummy and a permanently attached support item. Support items are very strong right now. And just training dummies add so much health to your board. Training dummies are very valuable with Akali in the meta, and just generally it just gives you a lot of frontline as well. So very good against Akali, very good against Karthus. Those are super meta. And then a lot of the other comps that are very meta, like Country Reroll and Jazz and that sort of thing, people are stuck hitting the frontline. Just so more frontline is more better usually on this patch. So this is great right here. And like worst case scenario item that you can get, like a lot of the supported items are very good. But like the worst case scenario item you could get would be like Banshee's Veil, because you don't really want to play frontline carries. That's usually what that indicates when you get a Banshee's Veil, is like, all right, I'm going to play like Jax or something like that. But those comps aren't very good, except for Zed. Zed is pretty solid. And I don't consider Akali to be a frontline carry. She's more of an assassin. So that's like worst case scenario, but you just still put this on your front line and it helps your tanks not get CC'd at the beginning of the fight. That can be super valuable, keeping your Thresh or your Zac from being CC'd, and then they get to cast their ability. Also you can put on your backline if you really have to, but whatever. So very good right here. Cutting corners, very, very, very good. I think cutting corners is good in general. I think it's great because it gets you that early level 5 at the beginning of the game. It's just stronger on this set because they nerf the amount of XP it takes to get to each level. So the value of cutting corners has increased. I would not be surprised at all if they nerf this. But another reason why I think this is very strong on the current patch is because people are still getting used to the leveling intervals. And this just makes your leveling intervals so much easier because it costs less XP. You don't have to push levels super hard early. You kind of get to level 5 sort of for free. So that's very nice. That's very nice. Vampirism, just very good. Very good augment to take when you're already low, like at 3-2 if you lost streak early to take. And also if you're just presented with a terrible opener, this is a very powerful combat augment for that. Good for something. I don't necessarily really like this one. I'm not sure why it's performing super well, but if you're presented with no opener, you can just sack stage 2 and then win streak stage 3. I could definitely see that to be viable, but I don't know about that. Cybernetic bulk, super strong. It's very easy to get a bunch of items. And also I just think the augment itself is strong. There's a lot of portals that give you extra items, a lot of augments that gives you extra items. I really like this when I'm playing like true damage.
Hey, press the like button and subscribe. It'll help me. Help me!
And a lot of people play true damage right now because they're playing around Kennen in the early game. So very good with true damage comps and that sort of thing. I really, really, really like cybernetic bulk. And also it's very good if you played Heartsteel. If you played like a 5 Heartsteel mid game, and you have a bunch of extra items, or if you took item augments. There's a lot of item augments in the game. Or portals as well. Spoils of War, this has been OP forever. Spoils of War 1 is so strong. The other 2 tiers, I don't really recommend taking those normally unless you're just in Smurflow or you just have a crazy opener. But Spoils of War 1, I like almost insta-cop this because it just allows me to play like a Psycho. You get to play really, really aggressive on stage 2. And then what's very meta right now, and this will be a playstyle that should be meta the entire set, is kind of rolling each stage. Whenever you get this, you feel very comfortable rolling each stage. You never feel like you need to greed because you're going to make your econ back if you play like a Psycho. So I really, really like this one. Let's talk about a couple more of them up here. I'm not going to go through each of these, of course. Let's just talk about a couple more that we see here. Iron Assets is another one I pretty much insta-cop every game. Helps me win streak because I get the item and I can build an extra item, especially if I have an item opener and I can build 3 completed items. That's crazy. especially if you have this and then you can build 3 completed items and then you have Superfan. I think that's another reason why this is performing really well is this combo with Superfan is extremely, extremely strong. Just having extra items. Because if you can have a 3-item unit on stage 3, or on stage 2, that is crazy. That is crazy. And then also Iron Assets gives you 4 gold. I love this augment. Might be my favorite augment in the game. I just love getting the 4 gold and I can push tempo, be very aggressive. Let's look at another one sticking out. 1, 2s, and 3s. This is very good right now because let's just read exactly what it does. 3 1-cost champions, 2 2-cost champions, and 1 3-cost champion. There's just a lot of valuable units in the game. And if you're trying to force Superfan or anything like that, it can just help you force Superfan for the early game because the game is just so much easier if you're playing around Superfan. Check out my Superfan flex guide for the early and mid game. It was my most recent video. If you haven't checked it out yet, I think that'd be helpful to you if you want to know how to play better around Superfan. So it can just help you get your Superfans. Like, honestly, that's one reason why it's performing super well. As well as, like, I just take this all the time because if I don't get the units I'm looking for, okay, I just made, how much gold is this? 3, 4. This is 10 gold. This is 10 gold. I'll take 10 gold every day of the week. So, very good. Blistering Strike's very good. Healing Reduction, very strong in the meta. Very good to take. Latent Forge, pretty good. I really like Silver Spoon. Just gets you that instant level 5. Can give you access to early Chosens. Now let's look at some of the ones that aren't performing super well. Recombobulator. This is another one where stats will not tell you everything. Just simply people are taking these in the wrong spot. Like you should take Recombobulator when you have a 3-star 2 cost or a 3-star 3 cost. Like that's really strong. Or if you have a bunch of 2-star 3 cost, if you get this offered at 4-2 and then you can upgrade your whole comp into 4-cost comp, like that's really strong. But a lot of people just like randomly take this because it's fun and it doesn't perform very well. Switching gears, I'm not sure why this isn't performing super well. I think it's a pretty decent econ augment. So honestly, I take this all the time. I mean, 2 gold every time I break my streak. It works on the first round as well. You gain 2 instant gold pretty much after the first round. And then like a lot of games, you're just in a win-loss situation. So I really like this. So I'm not sure why it's not performing super well. Reaching the summit. This one is tough because it gives you 50 XP. You should only take this if you're just so giga far ahead. And the tough thing is it's only offered at 3-2. And a lot of games at 3-2, it's really hard to tell if you can go level 10. Even if it looks like you can go fast 9, when you get offered this at 3-2, you might take it and then take some pretty devastating losses on stage 3 or stage 4 if you didn't roll. And then you're just like, man, I'm never reaching 10. So I don't really like this one very much. Indomitable Will, it's not performing really well, but I think you should only take it at 4-2. I think that's why it's really bad in the sets. I think it's not as bad as it looks. Let's look at a couple more. Young, Wild, and Free. I love this augment. You should take this one if you're Ed. I kind of like it on 2-1 as well, but I think maybe it's not performing really well in the stats because you need to, I don't know, kind of forces you into a play style a little bit. Kind of, it's better when you're ahead, obviously, but I just really like this. I think also maybe it's not performing really well in the stats is if you don't know how to create the strongest board possible at each stage. I think maybe just people aren't taking this and they're not rolling on stage 3 and that sort of thing. I think if you take this on stage 2, you should roll on stage 3 to make a strong board because you should just play aggressive when you have this. I really like it. And let's look at another one. Item grab bag. All right, these are kind of in the middle here. These are all fine. All right, I talked a lot about silver augments here, so let's talk about some gold augments. And obviously the elephant in the room, that's Jazz, baby. Obviously this is performing super well. The stats have actually gone down quite a bit because before people started forcing this comp a lot, this had like a 2.1 or like a 1.5 with 3 stars. It still has like a 1.5 with 3 stars, but had like a 2.1 average overall. And that's because people weren't contesting this comp every game. So the only people taking this were the people who were knowers about this comp. I actually think this augment is actually very close to being balanced. I know it seems like incredibly OP, but I think that's more just the Jazz comp is super, super OP. And one thing about taking this augment, if you get offered this augment, you can definitely take this on 2-1 and force into Jazz. You could totally do that. And if you already have Jazz, you should take this every single time. Every single time. If you're playing Jazz reroll. The cool thing about this is when you take this, you don't have to 3-star your units. You could just play to go 9 and get Ziggs. And once you get Ziggs and Lucian, it's Jover. Like you win. You win no matter what. I mean, unless they're like full legendaries. But if you have a 2-star, as long as your team is completely 2-starred, and then you hit a Lucian and a Ziggs, and then you are top 2 guaranteed. And if you Ziggs 2-star, you're top 1. Like it's so good in those spots. The reason why it's so good on 2 stars is because if you read Misfortune's ability, she actually, we can see it right here. Well, my head's kind of blocking it a little bit, but her scaling actually doesn't change when she gets to 3-star. It changes by 5 from 270 to 275 from 1-star to 3-star. So this is extremely powerful because like the reason why the scaling is that way is because if you get 3-star, your base stats increase a lot. But that's Jazz Baby gives you insane base stats. So you don't actually have to 3-star. If you 3-star, it's Jover. Completely Jover. Anyways, that's very, very good. Three's a Crowd is another one. This isn't like an insta-cop every time, but most of the time it is. Because the reason why it's so strong, they actually nerfed this on the launch patch. God bless. If they didn't nerf this, it would have been crazy. It's so strong because the 3 costs are so strong. Like if you're playing Country Reroll, you play so many 3 costs. If you're playing Jazz, you're playing so many 3 costs. You play the Superfan Frontline, which most of the time you should be playing for most of the game. It's so many 3 costs. So many 3 costs are very strong in very many comps. Like even comps where you even get out a Superfan or something like that. Like you're probably still going to play an Echo and a Mordekaiser and a Pentakill comp, you know, and you're going to play some other stuff. Like it's just so good. Or like a lot of comps just support Vex and Amumu. That's a very powerful like budget frontline, budget executioner in a lot of comps. And so it's just really, really, really good. Little Buddies is very strong right now because the Superfan frontline. I mean, there's other reasons, but really in a lot of comps, you're playing the Superfan frontline, and that has 2 1 cost in there already. Boom. There you go. And then like let's say you're playing Spellweavers, KDAs, you're playing the Lilia, you're playing Kennen, and you're playing Seraphine. That's 3 right there. That'll buff up your Akali, buff up your other girl, you know, Ari and that sort of thing. Very strong. Escort Quest. I do not think this is Instacop, but this is a very good augment because it just adds a lot of frontline to your board. And if you're really far ahead, you know, this can make you very strong. You know, you get the gold and you're far ahead and you have more frontline. Helps you win streak and stuff like that. I think combat augments are very good right now. Sleight of hand, I really like this one. I take this one all the time if I have a glove opener. I've taken this one twice today, and that got me a top 4 guaranteed because you just play really aggressive whenever you get this. And I really like playing aggressive right now. Let's look at some more. Patient Study, another one of those that it just feels good. All of ASOL's augments just feel good because you know, everybody's still getting used to the leveling intervals. I just think it feels really good. And in order to first place in any lobby now, you have to go level 9 or level 10 and play around 5 costs is the only way to first place unless you have a reroll 3 cost build. Let's look at some more down here. A lot of these item augments, they might not perform really well in the data. Let's see. Where's the ones like the Adaptive Helm one? Shock Treatment's like the worst one of them all. Like Crown Guarded, like this doesn't look like it's popping off here, but this is so good. It's so good with Superfans. If you have a Superfan opener, like I said earlier, if you can have a stage 2 build that has 3 items on 1 unit, that is insane. You're going to streak guaranteed unless someone else has also an insane board or they're playing Cruel Pact or something like that. Like Superfan comboed with this stuff is so broken. And then especially if you already have components to build more Crown Guards, it's so good. Don't fall into the trap of putting too many on the same unit early. So early game, if you get this offered and you have 2 Crown Guards, you want to solo frontline a unit and you can put 2 Crown Guards on there. Alternatively, you can just put 2 frontline units and split up the items. And then late game, if you built 2 or 3, you definitely want to have them on different units and have them be the duo front lines or have them on the edges where they take the damage. You definitely don't want to have 3 on the same unit. I've done it for memes, but you really want to have it spread out a little bit on your team. I've even done it where I've had 4 and I had them all on different units, all on different frontliners. That was pretty cool too. I just had insane stats. Portable Forge, I think is pretty good right now. This is Portable Forge plus, so it doesn't perform really well. I think Ascension's tough to take, even though the meta is kind of slow, like combat is slow in a lot of fights. I still like, I have such a hard time taking this. Something that I haven't really talked about, I think Econ augments are very good, but they're actually not performing really well in the data. I think that's because people are not playing aggressive enough. They're not used to flipping their chosen every stage. So I think a very good strategy right now, even if you're really far ahead, is still to roll each stage. Now, sometimes you can get away with not rolling on stage 3. Like if you have a Kennen chosen and he's just like, you know, you just got a 2-star Senna out of your ass, and it's just like, you got 3 item Kennen, you have a 2 item Senna, and you're just like, man, and you just hit everything you needed. Unless that's happening, you usually want to roll each stage. And so what happens a lot of times, people will take an Econ augment and they just won't roll for a new chosen on stage 3, and they lose too much health, and then they'll try to go fast 8, and so they don't roll for a chosen on stage 3 on 6, and they don't roll for a chosen on 7, and then they just go 8 with 30 HP, roll for a 4 cost board, and just a lot of times, guys, you just miss your 4 costs. Like you might hit the maybe one of the carries that you need, but you just don't hit your Blitz 2-star, your Thresh or whatever, and then you just bleed out to the other players who hit. So I think that's why a lot of econ augments aren't performing well in the data, except for stuff like patient study and stuff like that, stuff where you don't have to greed your gold. It just naturally happens for you. I think it's just people aren't rolling on stage 3. And so I'll have a video talking about that, about flipping your chosen, because I did like a baseline introductory guide to headliners last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago. And I want to do an updated guide talking about like how to actually play up tempo, and that how to create strong boards on each stage, and that you should be doing that in 90% of your games. You should be flipping your board every stage. And I honestly, I've been guilty of greeting a lot, and I've just gotten back to my roots of like, oh man, what am I doing? I need to play aggressive every stage. And so I think playing aggressive every stage is a very good play style right now. And I think that's why econ augments aren't performing well, even though I think they're good. I just had a game 2 games ago where I took hedge fund on stage 2, and I still played aggressive with it. Because I didn't need to maximize 100 gold the entire game, because I just rolled 20 gold on stage 3 and created a really strong board, and then was able to get to 100 on stage 3, on the end of stage 3. A lot of people would just take something like hedge fund and they'll try to get to 100 first, and then they'll slow roll from there. And by that time, a lot of times, unless you just hit, you're going to be at like 60 HP by the time you get there. And again, you could just miss your comp if you wait too long. Anyways, all right, next up is Prismatic. I don't really know the context of Endless Horde. I guess it's just because of Jazz. It's just because of Jazz. That makes complete sense to me. If you're playing Jazz comp and you get offered Endless Horde, it's so broken because you can activate so many traits. This makes complete sense to me. Binary airdrop is very broken if you don't have 3 committed items to your primary carry. If you're in a situation where you have 3 committed items to your carry, but you're still about to transition, it's fine to take. And you just get so many items. There's a lot of ways to get extra items in the game right now too, with all the portals and other augments that give you items. So this comboed with like a portal with item drops, or if you played Heartsteel or whatever, so strong. Freaky Friday, I really like, is very good. Now it says play it with edgelords. Obviously it's very good with edgelords, but edgelords are not very good. But Freaky Friday just performs really in the data because it's very good in crunchy reroll. Very good in crunchy reroll. And then also it's just generally good. Like I'll take this if I get it offered early game or whatever, and I'll just play an early game comp, and then late game I just have two Infinity Forces on a Collie. Like that's fine too. And so it just gives you extra items. I think getting extra items is very powerful right now. Gives you a great tempo. I really like Buried Treasures. Living Forge is pretty solid. Hologram is really good if you have 3-star carries. I think it's really good on 3 stars. So if you're rerolling, I think it's very good there. I just played a reroll Kennen game. I didn't try to play reroll Kennen. I just got natural to 3-star, and I took this. It was very strong in that situation. Spoils of War 3, only take this if you have just like the nuts. Like just the nuts. Like you got like 2-star Kennen, 2-star Lilia, and a natural to Nico, and then you like got a chosen Senna or something, or you have a chosen Corki, like, which is very powerful in the early game with that setup of frontline. Like, only take this if you have the nuts on stage 2, and then it can be broken. You got to play like an absolute psychopath. Okay, let's go down and let's look at some of these that aren't performing well. So again, a lot of these econ augments that I actually think are pretty good, like I don't like hedge fund plus. Only take this if you're so far ahead and you go fast 9 or fast 10. Like I actually like hedge fund. I think you just got to play a little bit more aggressive. I think people just greed too hard when they take this. I like going long a lot. I play like a psycho when I take this. I think you need to play like a psycho. You just push levels, you roll a lot, you're constantly upgrading your chosen. I just think what a lot of people do whenever they take this is they try to go fast 8 for some reason. But I really think the power of going long is that you can just roll every stage. I actually kind of like taking this, but maybe you won't like it. Infernal Contract is not super good right now because you really want to be level 8 at the end of the game. Like you don't want to be level 7. And if you do take this, you need to 3-star every single unit on your board. Like I played Jazz reroll one time and I 3-starred every single unit on my board. And I still second placed, and I had the most broken comp in the game. So yeah, I don't really like this one. Only take this. This can be really good if you're like about to die and you just need to blow your load. You can take this to increase placement on 4-2. It's not too bad there. Caretaker's Chosen. I just don't think this one's very good. It baits you into going fast 8, and I really like having more power earlier on in the game if I'm going to take a combat augment. Birthday Present is just kind of hard for people to play around. They'll try to go fast 9, and then it kind of takes the stats down. But if you high roll taking this, like it's very strong when you go fast 9. But if not, I think people just get baited into not rolling with this. But I think it's just not performing well in the stats. It's very RNG based. So Prismatic ticket, I don't think it's super good. I would only take this if you're like, I would take this on 3-2 if I hit like my country chosen, I'm about to send it or whatever. Hedge fund, again, not performing really well on the data, but I think just people don't play aggressive enough with it. Wellness trust, I just had a wellness trust game. I only take this I take this when I'm like giga far ahead and I want to greed. Then I think it's pretty good there, but I wouldn't take it if you're not giga far ahead. That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much all the augments I really, really wanted to talk about. Golden egg, obviously performing really well in the data. Don't get baited to take golden egg. The reason why it's performing well in the data is because the only time you take golden egg is when you're giga far ahead, and if you can cash it out and it's pretty good, the cash out's pretty good, and you can make your moves quick enough, you get first place, right? And if you don't and you lose, well, by the time it cashes out, you're at least 6th place already. So that's why it's pretty good. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see ya on the next one, you little goobers.